Hello everybody, welcome back to I Dream of Indie. Old Gamer Joe here today for another review. We are looking at Frontline Zed on the Nintendo Switch today, releasing on August 6th of 2020. This game was published by Forever Entertainment. It is a two-player action game. It can also be enjoyed in single player if you so wish. At the time of this review, there is a little bit of a discount on the game, bringing it down to $10.79, though it is normally priced at $11.99. There's very little to talk about here in terms of storyline with Frontline Zed. You are presented on occasion with a few notepad readings for you to go through, and they explain that a zombie outbreak has taken place and it's up to you to try to survive and find survivors. There are 4 different game modes for you to go through, though most of them feel more or less the same. You have survival mode for those that want to go through single player without too much challenge. The 2-player mode, which allows you to go through essentially that same mode with 2 players. Then there's a New Game Plus, which adds a little bit of additional challenge, and a 2-player New Game Plus as well. So the New Game Plus feature is available right off the bat in this title. Not exactly sure why, but it is. Whichever mode you choose, gameplay mostly remains the same. You find your character hidden behind a barricade, not a very well built one for that matter, and you have zombies rushing towards you, trying to kill you and tear that barricade down in order to get to you. Between each of these levels, you have a set number of hours that you can use in order to search certain areas, which is done so on this map here that you can see. You can select a few of these in hopes of turning up some different items that will help you along the way, including barrels that you can explode or new guns to fire at the zombies. Most of the game, though, simply revolves around you moving around your reticle, trying to put it on top of a zombie's head, and then pulling the trigger in order to pop that zombie's head with a bullet. You do have a little bit of direct movement should a zombie get too close and successfully tear the barricade down. You can scramble around a bit to try to get away, but for the most part your gameplay is simply moving this dot onto their head and hoping to kill them. Maybe with a light gun or even a mouse it would have been a little bit more fun, but as far as using the right stick in order to slowly move this reticle around, it's not fun whatsoever. You can control the speed at least a little bit in the options if you're not comfortable with the default speed, but that doesn't make the game any more fun to actually play. Even as you unlock different weapons in the game, the reload speed in this title is so ridiculously slow that it makes using any of them a real burden. You'll also get things like grenades that you can toss at enemies, but they don't go off with much of a satisfying boom either, so the game really on the whole from a gameplay standpoint does not feel satisfying or fun. Playing the game in 2-player co-op was slightly more amusing than playing it in single player, which is a complete slog, but even still we were pretty bored with the game even after 10 to 15 minutes of that. The game also doesn't last more than a few hours, not that you will likely want it to last more than that, but that's just something to consider as well. You don't get a lot of actual gameplay here. Graphically, on its best day, Frontline Zed looks a little bit like a first-generation PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360 game, maybe even a little bit less than that. This is not a very pretty title, and the presentation isn't helped by the fact that the game crashed on me no less than 3 times while I was trying to do this review. I would be on the menu trying to select my weapons, and I simply wouldn't be able to move anymore. The game would hard freeze. Well, I shouldn't say hard freeze, I was able to go back to the menu, but I would lose all of my progress. If you've ever watched a horror movie and left it on the DVD menu for a little while with the music looping over and over again, then you'll have a good idea for what the soundtrack to Frontline Zed is like. This is one of the most irritating game soundtracks I've come across in a while. There's no real melodies or anything behind it, it's just nonsense that loops over and over again. And as you might have already guessed, the sound effects are nothing to write home about either in Frontline Zed, so on the whole the presentation really misses the mark in this game. If you're looking for some great 2-player co-op shooting action, don't visit Frontline Zed. It's not going to be the game for you. It's not very fun at all. There's a lot better games out there in this genre that you can have a good time playing. The core gameplay will just make you wish you were playing a cool light gun game like House of the Dead or something like that instead. The graphics are pretty pitiful and kind of just sad for a Nintendo Switch game this late in the generation. And the soundtrack is really irritating. It got on my nerves rather quickly. So on the whole, I can't recommend Frontline Zed under any circumstances whatsoever. This one's a little bit brain dead. Thanks for checking out our review of Frontline Zed. If you have enjoyed our content today, consider hitting the subscribe button below. We also have a brand new I Dream of Indie merchandise store, and memberships are now available on the channel as well. However you end up supporting I Dream of Indie, we thank you so much for doing so.